If you're like me, at the end of every academic year, you breathe a sigh of relief and say, "Whew, I'm glad that's over." And then you take a month or so to reflect, and you get really excited about the possibility of something brand new. A different start, a fresh beginning, so that at the end of the next year, you don't say to yourself, "Whew, glad that's over." That fresh start, that's what we all need. And the people who really need the freshest start many times are middle school choir teachers. Because middle school choir is a tough row to hoe because kids just don't want to sing. They've spent their entire elementary experience, if they had one, singing. And they want to do something else. And instruments are nice and shiny, and there's a technical challenge. And singing, wah, we don't need to sing. Wah, wah, wah.
Oops.
So what's the person supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Anybody. The key here is to remember that you don't have a lot of time to make a first impression about the coolness of music. Well, specifically the coolness of vocal music. Who wants to carry around a tuba when you've got your own set of vocal cords that can do a lot better job than a tuba? So you have 5 minutes to make students realize, hey, this is cool. This is really cool. This isn't lame. This is cool. And when we approach music as adults, we often think about that high, elevated, classical, even though that was kind of opera-esque, but you get the idea. Music for middle school students is cool, not classy. If you're going for classy because your peers, you feel pressure from your colleagues to have kids singing kind of music, you may be missing their boat. They're on one boat and you're on a different boat, and you're going in two different directions. And the goal here is to get everybody on the same boat and realize at the beginning of a year you're going to be on two different boats. Because they're in their world, their musical boat, and you're in your musical boat. Both boats have to get together. Think of it that way. Get those two boats together. And the way to do that is to see that music isn't always classical and not high art and all of that. It's cool. And it can be cool in a jazzy way, in a classical way, in a musical way, as in musicals, Broadway musical kind of thing, in a folk song way. It can just be cool. If we get on and stay in our classical boat, that it can only be this one thing that the profession seems to think is the only way to go, they will never leave their boat. They will never leave their boat and come and look in our boat. And if we're not willing to look in their boat, why should they look in ours? So remember, you have 5 minutes to make some amazing music. 5 minutes. And the amazing music that you're going to make will not be through visual notation. There isn't time for that. Your job is to hook them. Hook them like a fisherman. You're going to set the hook. And once you've got them, you can keep them. And then you may say to yourself, well, if I do this, if I make music that is not visually notated and it's not music, I'm selling out. I'm selling out. And okay, you're selling out. I don't think you are, but okay, let's assume that you're selling out. A choir has to be more than a handful of students, or the experience is lame. Your choir needs to be more than a half a dozen students, or the experience is lame. You have to have critical mass. And if you don't have critical mass, it may not matter. It's a pragmatic approach. You need to be pragmatic about this. You need numbers. Because the more singers you have, the easier it is to stay in tune. It's easier to tune a lot of voices than one or two.
No.
Before we can start making very cool music, middle school throws us yet another monkey wrench into the already complicated world of vocal music. Kids aren't interested in vocal music because that's all they've been doing, and then we get into puberty.
Oh no!
Changing voices. That really has an effect on what you can do. We know that boys, when they get to puberty, their voices start to crack and drop and all of that kind of thing. So you may have, let's say, 30 girls and 5 boys, and that's pretty good. And one of your boys is actually a bass because his voice is already dropped.
What?
Two of your boys' voices are cambiata. They're in that changing register where it's sort of an alto tenor range, and they're starting to progress, lower a little bit, but they have 4 good notes. That's it. And then you have 2 boys that are sopranos. Now, the 2 boys that are sopranos need to sing in a soprano register. However, they're not going to sing what girls sing because they're not girls. They're boys. And so you have to create things for your male sopranos that are different from the girls so that they don't feel like they're not men.
Yeah.
Which technically they're not, but they don't need to know that. They're always men, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. You have to begin with a bass line, an ostinato that has a reoccurring idea, and it is rhythmically, formally square, meaning that it has a 2 or 4 bar structure. So here's one that you can give your guys. It always begins with the guys because they are the weak link, meaning that if they're not hooked, they're going to quit faster than everyone else. Girls will hang on because they're nice. Guys, they're not going to be nice. They're just going to leave. So here it is. Do 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 you do do. 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 That's about A. All right, A, which is, the A below middle C, somewhere in there. You can pitch it to where it's comfortable for your kids. I just chose that because I did. Do 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 you do do. Boo yum do 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 you do 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 boo 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 do do do. There you go. There's your first part. You get that going, then you add your next part. So then let's say it's going to be your alto. All right? Got your cambiata part. Let's say we've got the alto. So do do do. So here's the alto part. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 you do do. Do 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 you do. Notice how the parts aren't that complicated. The ranges are very narrow, they're rhythmic, and they're stepwise motion, essentially. So everything is geared towards getting the kids to pick it up quickly, because success has to happen fast, especially at the beginning of the year, so that you hook them. Yes, hard work pays off. They're not going to wait for hard work at this point. At this point, you're trying to convince them not to change classes. Or maybe you are trying to convince them to change classes. I don't know. Anyway, you're trying to get more people in your choir. And you do this by having quick success. So we have the do 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 do, and then we have do 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 do. So those two parts, right? And now we need a soprano part, which is not the boy soprano part, it's the girl soprano part. And their part, I'm just making it up. Do 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 you. All right, so we have three parts. Let me put those three parts together so you can hear how they sound as an ensemble. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. There you go. It's that simple. It's just one line and another line and another line. It's very much like Orff, but with your voice, and you're adding just a riff on top of another thing and another thing. Ooh. Then once you get this down and it's pretty much locked in, you can add a bass part if you want, if you have a bass, and I know you can come up with your own. Take the class to the sweet spot in your school. Find the spot where the resonance is really cool so that they can hear themselves singing and they can say,
Wow!
Whoa! Wow! We sound great. It doesn't matter how simple it is. Their affect has to be, we sound great. Even if they don't like the style of something, they know when they're successful. Kids know this. And I know you know that they know that you know that they know that they're successful. And you want that to be as part of the experience as soon as possible. Maybe they're successful on a concert, but a concert is 6 weeks away. At this point, they're not going to wait 6 weeks to be cool. They need to be cool immediately. And I know that sort of flies in the face of a lot of what we talk about in music and the benefits of music education. You need kids in your choir. They have to be successful right away. They have to be. So this is one way to do that, so that they're cool and not waiting to be the Vienna Boy Choir or to be an honor choir at your state's music convention. That may happen, and it won't happen if you don't have people who believe in you, that you can help them sound cool. It's a trust issue. Will you be able to build their trust in a very short time that you can lead them to great things that no other person has been able to do? It's trust. If they believe in you, they will follow you. If they don't, they'll leave your program. My advice, in the first 5 minutes, get them to sound cool. You don't need lyrics, you need sounds that will help them sound cool. You need tones, and I know you can do this. Thank you for joining us today. This concludes our podcast on ideas for middle school vocal music. I'm Dr. Mark, and I'll see you next time.